Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Ashmit Kumar, and here are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. Brutal cuts on the Lal Street as Sensex plunges 1,400 points and Nifty drops to its lowest since June of 2024. Over 9 lakh crore rupees of investor wealth is wiped out in just a single day. Market records its biggest weekly fall of 2025 with 20 lakh crore rupees in market cap being erased over 4 sessions. The rupee weakens 30 paise to 87 rupees and 49 paise to the dollar. After the RBI, SEBI also gets a Finance Ministry bureaucrat, Finance Secretary Tuhin Kanta Pandey, to take over from Madhvi Puri Butch, who ends an efficient but tumultuous 3-year tenure at the market regulator. Prime Minister Modi meets European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen in New Delhi, sets the ball rolling on an India-EU free trade agreement. Prime Minister Modi says both sides to work on realizing the FTA by 2025 end. Von der Leyen says that the modern version of the great power competition is an opportunity for Europe and India to reimagine their partnership. Hopes of a higher interest rate on Provident Fund deposits are dashed. The EPFO board recommends keeping the interest rate for FY25 unchanged at 8.25%. SEBI moves to bridge the gap between mutual funds and portfolio management services, releases final framework for a new asset class called Specialized Investment Funds or SIFs. Frameworks to come into effect from the 1st of April, with an AMFI set to release additional operational guidelines by the end of March. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer meets US President Donald Trump at the White House. Trump says USA could end up with a real trade deal with the UK, where tariffs wouldn't be necessary. Adds that he's confident Russia's President Putin can be trusted not to breach any agreement on Ukraine. US President Donald Trump stands firm on his decision to impose 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico starting the 4th of March. Adds that an additional 10% tariffs will be imposed on Chinese imports as well. Blames these countries for drugs entering the US at very high and unacceptable levels. An Israeli delegation heads to Cairo to resume talks with Hamas on the next phase of the Gaza ceasefire. One person was killed in an Israeli drone strike in South Gaza's Rafah. The Israeli army said that it carried out a drone attack in eastern Lebanon overnight, killing a Hezbollah member. Well, here's the big story this evening. India's GDP has grown by 6.2% in the third quarter of this fiscal. The second advance estimate pegs India's GDP to growth by 6.5% for the full fiscal year. Lata Venkatesh joining us now with more details. Lata.
Well, actually, it's a 6.2 GDP growth for October, November, December is exactly as the CNBC-TV18 poll. But what is important is that along with the third quarter GDP number, the MOSPI also releases its second advance estimate for the full year. The first advance estimate came on Jan 7 this year, and that had forecast a growth of 6.4. Now they are upping the full year GDP to 6.5. And at least one reason why that number is higher is because the second quarter GDP, which was an abysmal 5.4, has been revised higher now to 5.8% GDP. So it was not as bad as was earlier expected. So that's why the full year number has gotten increased. And likewise, the Q1 GDP has come in at 6.5%, more or less similar to what it was. So because of the bump up in the second quarter GDP, we now have a full year number which works out to 6.5. The third quarter itself is a decent number. The other changes which the MOSPI announces are the revisions to 23-24, the year ago, and the previous year, because you get a lot of data after the year is out, small scale sector, a whole host of data comes late. And believe you me, last year we grew actually at 9.2%. The old number we had was 8.2, a full percentage point higher at 9.2. And even the previous year, we'd originally thought we were growing at 7%. It turns out to be 7.6%. So across the board revisions, and all revisions are higher. In 22-23, we were supposed to have grown at 7. We have now grown at 7.6. 23-24, the original number was 8.2. Now it's 9.2. And for the current year, 24-25, the original number was 6.4. Now it is 6.5. For the one quarter that really shook the market, where we were supposed to have grown at 5.4, which is July, August, September, 5.4 has now been revised higher to 5.8%. And that explains why the full year number is so much better. The one number which we were all, of course, keeping our eyes peeled, that is the current quarter, October, November, December. There is no change. It remains at 6.2% as our poll forecast. So all told, actually, I don't know how the markets will take it. The number that we were most watching out for is the latest quarter. How much have we recovered from the previous quarter? But now when you look at it, if the previous quarter was not so bad, then the difference between second and third quarter doesn't look very good. It is only 40 basis points higher. We are supposed to have grown at 5.8 in the previous quarter and now at 6.2. I'm not very sure how the market is going to take it. This reminds me of a very interesting quip from a former Reserve Bank governor, Y.V. Reddy. He used to say that central bankers everywhere have a problem making policy because the future is uncertain. But in India, the past is also uncertain because numbers get revised rather sharply. I don't think there's much point in going through this every single entry. The farm sector is expected to have grown this year by 4.6%, manufacturing 4.3%, and government, public administration is the best at 8.8%. But these are all full year numbers. Let me see if I can get to the Q3 numbers. Okay, we've got the Q3 numbers here. Those are GVA numbers. Well, it's not very clear over here. I'll just get back to you with the current quarter numbers. That is, we are looking at October, December numbers. Agriculture has grown at 5.6. Solid numbers in agriculture, which means the Kharif was good. And 5.6, the number that I got in my poll was about 4.3. So that's that has singly contributed to the GDP. Mining is bad at 1.4. I got a much better number. If I remember right, I think I got a 4% number. The manufacturing sector growth is again poor at just 3.5. The number I got was again 4.3. So mining and manufacturing appear to have disappointed, but the disappointment is made good by the agricultural sector, which has grown very well at 5.6. I think that tallies with what all the FMCG company told us, that rural demand has been very good. It is urban demand that has stagnated. The GDP numbers seem to, correspond to that kind of anecdotal evidence we got. The services sector, construction has grown at only 7%. I got a number of 8% for construction. I'm trying to spot where the government services were, because that was expected to be a very good number. Private final consumption has grown well at 6.9. In the first quarter, the number was 6.7. First half. So that's almost as good, not very different. The overall number, the GVA growth, has come in for April, December. For 9 months, it's come in at 6.2. And for April, December, GDP 9 months has come at 6.1. I would say that this should cheer the market. But the important point is, it is not the Q3 number, which is very, very good. It is the past revisions that are very, very good. I cannot at the moment try to tell you how the market will react to it, but that's the short point. Q3, no very big pleasant surprises. They are all in line with expectations. You may even complain that manufacturing is a disappointment, but the past, which we thought was very bad, has all been revised upward. So we should have been happy 2 years ago, but we were less happy. Over to you, Ashmit.
Right, Lata, thanks so much for that. So clearly upward revisions across the board there, and what an apt quirk there by Mr. Y.V. Reddy, where he said we're dealing not just with an uncertain future, but also an uncertain past. courtesy these revisions, these upward revisions that we're now seeing. Of course, we'll wait till Monday morning to see how the market chooses to react to these numbers. Thank you once again, Lata, for that perspective. Moving ahead now, speaking of the markets, let's talk about the other big story of the day, the carnage on the Lal Street. It was a day of brutal cuts, and 9 lakh crore rupees of wealth has been wiped out in just a single session. Nifty plunged to its lowest level since June of 2024, and Sensex dropped over 1,400 points over the course of the day. 15 of the 50 Nifty stocks hit a 52-week low today. This has brought to an end what has been the worst week of the year for Indian equities. Over the week, which consisted of just 4 sessions, nearly 20 lakh crore rupees of investor wealth has been wiped out. That means that nearly 50% of the weekly market cap erosion took place in just one session. Today, with this, the Nifty is down 6% in the first 2 months of this year. CNBC-TV18's Prashant Nair has more on today's action. Prashant, it's not been all fun and games today. 9 lakh crore rupees of wealth wiped out. What else are you seeing on the radar?
A big red Friday. I think that's how you describe the day today. And a very, very sobering reminder that markets sometimes just sort of go one way on the downside this time without very many bids at all. And that essentially has been the problem. While many have been saying, well, it's too late to sell, the problem is that there are no buyers really out there for stocks. Maybe, some nibbling here and there. The Nifty up on your screen tells that story. The Nifty Bank will come up as well up on your screens now. Mid-cap and small-cap indices, of course, have really taken it hard today and this week as well. Very quickly, and we've been doing this stock taking, again, the numbers keep getting bigger and bigger. So from the highs, as the graphics tell you, Nifty is down about 16% now. Nifty Bank is down about 11%. Mid-cap index has lost 21% of its value, and the small-cap index is down, has lost about 0.25%. That's about 25% from the all-time highs. Again, from the highs, where have we seen the maximum damage? Real estate as an index has lost 31%. The PSU bank index has lost 30%. CPSCs, the PSU space is down 30%. And oil and gas is down about 29% as well. I just want to make a quick mention of the IT services index because that actually was the big damage. For the week, Friday to Friday, with a holiday in between, that index lost about 8%. And that was holding on so far. 2 weeks back, that index was down about 8% or so from the highs. But now it's kind of fallen in line, lesser than many other sectors, but it's down about 18% or so. And the stocks tell you the story. So this is the Nifty IT stocks on the weekly damage. Tech Mahindra down 10, Wipro down 9, TCS down 8, HCL Tech down 7, Infosys down about 7% or so. I'll just quickly run through some stocks here as well. In the large caps, mid caps, small caps, of course, you can assume the damage is far higher. And this is since the highs we saw. The data I've used is the top for the NSE 500, which is 29th of November 2024. So Trent has lost about 41% of its value. Hero is down 38%. Bajaj, Tata Motors in the 37% range. More consumer names. Asian Paints down 34%. IndusInd Bank, Power Grid, NTPC, Coal India, and Adani Ports as well, which is down about 26% or so. The new thing, here, of course, we've been under a fair bit of pressure. But the new thing is, of course, the US market, the big market, which has been so far holding out, but concerns seem to be emerging. So growth fears at the margin and focus. Recent high-frequency data has been weak. S&P 500 there has fallen below its 200-day moving average. The market, of course, is derating some of the AI capex trades, the Magnificent Seven, so as to speak, NVIDIA in particular. And of course, there's also now increasing at the margin new concern that DOGE, Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, is maybe in the near term at least deflationary. They're cutting spending, or at least they want to cut spending. Lots of deadlines ahead as you look forward. Next week, March 4th, is when Trump tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and of course now China, which was the surprise from last night, come into play. There is a China annual 2 sessions NPC meeting. Trump call with Chinese President Xi, some indications that could happen next week. And the 1st of April is when, as Trump has said, federal authorities in the US will report back to him with tariff studies. And that essentially is when those reciprocal tariffs perhaps come into play once again. So full deck in that sense, but no real reprieve, and a very downbeat Friday and a downbeat week as well. Back to you.
Right, Prashant. Clearly, it had been a difficult week here for the markets. 20 lakh crore rupees of wealth wiped out in just these 4 sessions of this week. Now, moving ahead, after the Reserve Bank, SEBI is all set to get a Finance Ministry bureaucrat. Finance Secretary Tuhin Kanta Pandey will take over from Madhvi Puri Butch, who ends an efficient but tumultuous 3-year tenure at the market regulator. Pandey has also served as the Secretary of the Department of Investment and Public Asset Management, DPAM. He was instrumental in the privatization of Air India and the initial public offering of LIC. Pandey has also been Joint Secretary in the Planning Commission as well as in the Cabinet Secretariat. He has also worked in the administrative roles in the Odisha state government. Speaking to the media on the announcement, the finance bureaucrat said that he's yet to take over the new role.
I just got the order yesterday and the government has given the responsibility. I'll go there and join. I'll just make out, when I will go. Thank you.
So when is the last day then? Do you have any clarity over here?
No, not yet. I think yesterday got the order. Thank you.
So what would be challenging
Priority areas, what will be priority areas?
No, as I said that I'm yet to join. So let me take over and will let you know.
Yet to take over the reins there. So what were Madhvi Puri Butch's achievements during her term as the SEBI chief? Yash Jain is joining us now with more details. Yash, give us a sense. What was the 3-year term like? And what are the challenges that await the new finance ministry player who's supposed to join shortly, Tuhin Kanta Pandey?
Well, of course, the mystery over the name of the next SEBI chairperson finally cleared with Mr. Tuhin Kanta Pandey's name getting through. Current Finance Secretary with Government of India, Tuhin Kanta Pandey also served as the Secretary of DIPAM, which is Department of Investment and Public Asset Management. Madhvi's last working day would be today, that is February 28th, and the last day technically on paper would be March 1st, which would be a Saturday. Now, a lot of structural reforms were undertaken in the last 3 years, from tighter F&O guidelines to insider trading regulations, from work done in the primary market side to regulations on financial influencers. The latest one being the launch of Choti SIP or the 250 rupees SIP. Many things done, but equal number of things still remain to be done by the incoming SEBI chairman, that is Tuhin Kanta Pandey. The topmost would be reviewing the mutual fund expense ratio, to considering instantaneous settlement in the Indian capital markets, from allowing ownership of fractional shares to Indian investors, to considering NSE's IPO if that application comes through again to the new SEBI chairperson. These would be just some of the many things where SEBI chairman, the new SEBI chairman, Tuhin Kanta Pandey, will have to hit the ground running.
Right, Yash, thanks so much for that. With that, we're heading into a very short break, but coming up, Prime Minister Modi meets European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen in New Delhi, sets the ball rolling on an India-EU free trade agreement. More on that when we come back. Welcome back. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi met European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen in New Delhi to discuss the India-EU strategic partnership. After holding talks, both sides agreed to finalize a long-pending free trade agreement by the end of this year, 2025. The leaders also vowed to strengthen ties in defense and critical technologies.
EV बैटरीज, मरीन प्लास्टिक्स और ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन में जॉइंट रिसर्च किया जाएगा। साथ ही सस्टेनेबल अर्बन डेवलपमेंट पर हम अपने जॉइंट प्लान को आगे बढ़ाएंगे। कनेक्टिविटी के क्षेत्र में इंडिया, मिडिल ईस्ट, यूरोप इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर यानी आईमेक, उसे आगे ले जाने के लिए ठोस कदम उठाए जाएंगे। मुझे विश्वास है कि आईमेक ग्लोबल कॉमर्स, सस्टेनेबल ग्रोथ और प्रॉस्पेरिटी को ड्राइव करने वाला इंजन साबित होगा।
We will work together on economic growth. The potential is immense. Europe is already India's biggest trading partner. Now we have tasked our teams to build on this momentum and finalize our free trade agreement before the end of the year. We're expecting a lot of our trade negotiators. We told them they should surprise us.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business 360. More news and updates will continue right here on CNBC-TV18.